All right, Magic Makers. I have Miss Melissa Hoffmann here on the show, and she is a mindset and breathwork facilitator. And really, the reason why I had her on here is that I feel so many of us can benefit from the work of breathwork. I feel that it's more accessible than meditation for many people. And so many of you ladies need to chill the bleep out. And I feel that breath work is one of these things that doesn't require us to be in a quiet room with incense burning and all of that fabulousness. We can be literally in our car, pissed off that our kid, asked us to asked us to go deliver cleats when you said, "Do you have the cleats in your bag?" and all the other things, or just your boss is just pissing you off and a way to just regulate your nervous system while you're sitting in front of them. So I brought her on here for her to really explain what the hell breath work is, but also for us to kind of go through a small like breath work session. So Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks so much for having me.
So, most people, I think breathwork is one of those things that I feel that prior to COVID, no one really talked about it. It was kind of like if you knew kind of thing, but I
Yeah.
didn't feel like it was like a word that I heard regularly.
Yeah. So breathwork has been around for thousands of years, but I feel like it's really just picked up like in, I guess, like mainstream in the
Mm,
last maybe several years, 4 to 5 years. I've been seeing it everywhere. And like you, I had like never heard of breathwork. Like if you would have said something about like, oh, like I've been doing breath work, and I would have been like, what do you mean? Like it's just breathing, like we just do it. And so really understanding how the breath like affects your body, how the breath can help to calm you down and put you in a relaxed state. It can also give you energy. There's just so many benefits to breath work. And like once I started learning about it, I just got hooked into learning as much as I could and learning different practices, and then also being able to provide experiences for people to work with their breath.
And so, I know you said you started hearing about it, but like what made it,
Yeah.
become more, what made you actually look into it?
Yeah, so I experienced it. So I went to a women's retreat, and before that, I think I had maybe done breath work like one time with a coach, and it was something really simple, and I thought, "Oh, this is cool," but it wasn't really like I didn't really get hooked. And then I went to this women's retreat, and there was a breathwork facilitator there, and she had us all laying down, and we did a very active breathwork practice. And it was one of the ones where you're like breathing more intensely, and you're crying and just like feeling all the things. You get lightheaded, so sometimes we hear about those experiences. That's not all breath work, but sometimes there is like a place for that type. And I was going through this breath work, and I had like such clarity. I had like these creative downloads and inspirations come through, and I just felt like so inspired. And just like I was able to connect so clearly to my intuition. And after that, I was like, okay, I need to do more of this. I need to know more. And I want to provide this same experience for people.
And it's funny that people have those like kind of experiences. The first time I heard of breath work, I was at an event similar to what you were talking
Mhm.
about. And the woman who was the facilitator, she's like, I just had a breakup and I just escaped to Bali. And all of us are like, great. And so she goes, I was just there for the yoga. And she goes, I was late for a session and they wouldn't let you in if you're late. And the next session was breath work, just like you. She's like, I had no idea what it was. She's like, I know how to breathe. She's like, I'll just go. And just like you, she was just like, holy shit. Like this just kind of, transformed her life. And
Yeah.
so what do you think? And, this doesn't have to be technical. This could totally
Yeah.
be like your feeling. What makes you think that breath kind of gave you or in her kind of that like holy moly moment?
Yeah, I think it was connecting me to my body in a way that I really hadn't experienced before. And I would truly believe that it helped to like move some stuck emotions. Like I went to this retreat feeling like I was a little bit like stuck and unclear about where I wanted to take my business. I was a new coach and I was not really sure how I wanted to help people, what I wanted to do. And so there was a lot of like mistrust like within myself.
Mm,
And just doing this breath work, I think helped to clear that out and move some energy and just help me feel like really present, but also like connected to my intuition in a way that I hadn't experienced before, and just like really present and grounded in my body.
yeah. And, you know, most of the women that listen to this podcast and I deal with, I feel, being grounded in our bodies is not something that we've ever been taught.
Yeah.
For years, we've been taught how to diet and how
Mm.
to push our body to the brink of the brink
Yeah.
and not really be present in our
Hmm.
body. And
Yeah.
so what you're saying is that even if, regardless of where you are in your journey, what it is, that breath work kind of forces you to kind of sit in where you are.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. And it just like you're feeling all the things, and then you're also experiencing what your body can do. Like your body
Mm,
can take you to a different level by using your breath, like almost creating this, sometimes like this high, this,
right,
like euphoric feeling, and you haven't taken any drugs, you haven't taken any substances. It's just your breath.
right. And the other thing that I've found interesting about breath work, so my massage therapist is very woo. And it's really funny because we were just like yin and yang with each other. And I remember the first time I did a massage with her, she's like, okay, Kim, take a deep breath. And I took what I thought was a deep breath. And she just was like,
Yeah.
she goes, did you get past your throat? I'm like, what are you talking about? And so just the like act of taking a deep breath, like,
Yeah.
and what you think as a deep breath compared to someone who like you, who's like been very like can find the way to take the breath all the way to your toes. It was
Yeah.
just a very interesting conversation. So literally for like 5 minutes, she would point to points parts of my body and she's like, I want you to feel like the breath is coming from this point, this point. And it was just
Yeah.
a very interesting way because it's like if you think many of us kind of just, I think she called it shallow breathing, but she
Yeah.
was like, many of us are very shallow, almost panting, but you don't realize that you're doing it because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. You're only breathing like from chest up, and it's that shallow breathing, and you're not really using the full capacity of your lungs and letting your diaphragm expand, which is what that's how we're meant to breathe.
Yeah. So it was, and for those of you guys who are listening, I want you to kind of just like take 2 seconds right now just to kind of see how you're breathing. And you might not even like because when you hear the word panting, you think of your dog. Like that's like
Yeah.
the first thought that comes to your mouth, your mind. But it's like you're not like you're panting like a human.
Yeah.
Your tongue's not
Yeah.
hanging out. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not waiting for dinner.
Yeah. And it's like we're almost like always breathing like we're in survival mode, like we're in that fight or flight mode, that
Mm.
shallow breathing. And it's not allowing us to fully relax and fully get into our parasympathetic nervous system state. And one of the things that I cue people with in breath work is learning how to breathe, like expanding your lungs and like expanding your diaphragm. So really pulling the breath into your belly and then pulling it up into the rib cage and up into the chest and then letting it out. So you're really getting those full breaths, and you're starting to train your body into how to breathe properly.
So initially, it seems like this, like kind of, I think you said it was like pretty much like 3 steps of like a 3-step breath, if you
Yeah.
will. But eventually you're like, that's how we all should
Yes.
be breathing.
Yes. Yeah. And like, so the more, like, at first, you're going to have to pay some attention to it, to what you're
Right.
doing, and think about it. But then the more you do it, the more, you build that muscle memory. And that's like how you start to breathe. Or you might like catch yourself like, oh, I realize I'm breathing shallow. Like, let me deepen my breath. And it
Mm,
doesn't have to be these really long, drawn out breaths, but it's just allowing yourself to get more oxygen into your lungs and into the bloodstream and all of that stuff.
gotcha. So you said something that I think most people because you and I are in this world, you talked about the parasympathetic response.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if I am like, girl, this ain't eighth grade science. What
Yeah.
is the
So your parasympathetic nervous system response is the rest and digest. And so this is the opposite of the sympathetic nervous system response, which is fight, flight, or freeze, or there's also fawn. But so the sympathetic nervous system response is to like get you ready for action.
Mm,
And then the parasympathetic is the opposite, and it just helps to calm you down. And so
right.
that's like simply like the difference between the two.
And so, as I kind of like assess the women that I work with, assess the women who are attracted to me, most of us are living very sympathetic, which is like,
Yes.
it's so funny because you would think it's the opposite.
Yes, I know you would. I really have to like think about, okay, which is which. And
Because like you
but
hear
yeah.
sympathy, you think caring, giving, that kind of
Yes.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
not like I need to go to war. And
Yeah.
I feel that the women listening, and one of the reasons why wanted to have you on the show is that many people, unbeknownst to them, because they've just been living that for so long, are just living over here in you know, the saber-toothed tiger is going to come out of
Yes.
the cave any moment now. I
Yeah.
gotta be ready.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most of us are like living in that state that we're always, it's because, our culture, like we are, meant to always be busy and we're meant to hustle. And if you're resting, it's kind of like viewed as lazy. And so,
Mm,
especially as women, like we feel like, for one thing, we're always trying to take care of everybody else and like
yep.
our needs go last. And like, if we're putting our needs first, then that's like more like we're getting into that parasympathetic nervous system state. We're allowing like self-care, we're allowing ourselves to rest and relax. But most of the time we're not. We're taking care of everybody else. We're running around dropping the kids off at all their different activities that they have to do and doing, drop off at school, pick up at school and making dinner, working, and then like all the different things, cleaning the house. And so we're just constantly like in a stressed state. And, maybe we're worrying about other things and it's just keeping us in that like survival state, that fight or flight.
Right. And so, someone who's listening to this, I know me when I was in my like crazy times. Why is that so bad?
Yeah. Well, you don't want to be in a constant stressed out state because your cortisol levels are high. It's not safe for your body, basically. Like it's not good for you mentally, physically, emotionally to always be in that state. As a human, we're not meant to always be relaxed. We're meant to flow between the two. And
Mm,
so when you can learn how to regulate your nervous system, then you're able to, like if you're in a stressed out state, which there will be times that you are, that's just life, you're able to manage it and not stay in that state. You're able to bring yourself out of it. And that is like what the point of breath work is when you are in that stressed out state, that you don't stay there, that you're able to come out of it and be able to relax and like recharge your body, recharge your mental health, your mental capacity, your emotions.
no, no, and I like that because you're right. Like, a lot of times, and you probably hear this from your clients too, it's just my life.
Yeah.
And, what you're saying is that with breath work, it gives you that like minute of calm.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a tool that you can use. Like when, maybe there's some things that you feel like you can't control as far as like the stressors and the busyness, but you can control like your response to it and to be able to not stay in that stressed out state, but to be able to bring yourself out to relax, take some time when you're like, you just dropped off, one of your kids at soccer and you have like 5 minutes before you have to pick up the other kid and you can like just take like 5 minutes to do a breath work practice, like just some deep breathing and just to help you calm yourself before you're on to like the next, active or stressful situation or whatever it is.
Gotcha. So now, are there different types of breath work?
Yeah, there are so many different types. There's like, I think like 25 different ones that I've
Wow.
heard of. I'm sure that there's probably more too.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I'm like trained in 9 different ones. Some are very like calming and help to put you in that parasympathetic nervous system state. Some are more activating. So like when you want to access, like feel more energized, or when you want to really move some energy, like some of the more activating ones, like I had experienced in my first breathwork experience, like that was where I was like moving a lot of energy. I was moving a lot of emotions. I was, doing some crying, and my my hands were like kind of like clenching a little bit, because sometimes that happens with certain practices. But also there are practices that are just meant to calm you, and they feel very relaxing, and it's still really effective and powerful, just as much, if not sometimes more so, than the more activating practices.
Now, is breath work something that I can do on my own? Do I need to have a facilitator? Like,
Yeah, so there are definitely some practices that you can do on your own, and I'm going to guide you through a practice that you can definitely do on your own. And there's some of the more activating practices, like if you've like done some kind of work with a breathwork facilitator, then you could do them on your own. But I would say it's best to be guided through them with a breathwork facilitator, especially if it's your first time, if it's more activating, you might want to do it live, like whether like virtual or in
mm,
person with a facilitator. I mean, and there's lots of audios too that you can listen to that will like guide you through the process. But there are certain contraindications for some people with activating practices. Like if
gotcha.
you have, high blood pressure, if you have asthma, you want to be careful. If you're pregnant, you don't want to do some of these activating practices. Any kind of, like congestive heart things, or, you just want to be careful if you have anything to do with the heart. But the practice that I'm going to lead you through, like, has no contraindications. It's great for anybody. It's safe for anybody. If you're pregnant, you can do it. Yeah, like anybody can do it.
Right. So, a lot of people, there are certain practices, I think, if you've kind of looked into it, you've heard of like, the box breathing, you've heard of
Yeah.
Wim Hof, you've heard of those kind of, diaphragmatic breathing, we've all
Yeah.
heard of those. Are there any ones that kind of like, stand I guess it depends. I guess the question I'm asking, is there one that's better than the other? Or I guess it just depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, it just depends on what you're looking for and what your intention is. Like Wim Hof, like definitely has a specific purpose, and like that's something that like you want to make sure you're in, like you've done breath work before, and you're in good physical condition
Mhm.
to be able to do that practice. Box breathing, which is actually what we're going to do today, I call it equal ratio breathing. It's really safe. Anyone can do it. You can pick it up at any time. I like it because you could like literally like be stuck in traffic in your car, and you can like do some rounds of it to help calm yourself down.
Mhm.
You can do some like in the pickup line. You can do some like if you are, out shopping at the grocery store, and you like, I don't know, see somebody you don't like
Right.
and it triggers you. Like you can literally like do that as you're like kind of standing there talking to somebody or next to somebody, and like no one will know. But or you could do it, in bed. Sometimes like if I'm feeling a little bit stressed at the end of the day, I'll like lay down in my bed before I go to sleep and do it.
Yeah. What box breathing is one of the things I recommend for my women who can't sleep or who are like
Yeah.
or who have
Yes.
racing thoughts.
Yeah.
I was like, like shut your brain down just by counting,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
it's kind of like the equivalent of counting sheep.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So yeah, I think one of the first breath works that I heard of after the event that I went to was Wim Hof, and like
Yeah.
he I think was during COVID times he like kind of like skyrocketed up
Yeah.
into kind of like the popularity of all the things, and wow, we all
Yeah.
full freaking water now.
Yeah. I actually experienced him live at Tony Robbins before COVID, and
Oh,
it was
really?
at his UPW, Unleash the Power Within, I think is what they
Hmm.
call it. And Wim Hof was there, and so he led us through his breath work, and that was probably the first breath work I had done. I had forgotten I had done that, and I remember being in this stadium of like 10,000 people, and
Yeah, yeah.
everyone was doing it. And it was really cool, but also I was like, oh my God, I don't think I could do this for very long.
Yeah, he's it was, and it, as you, I've gone to Tony Robbins as well.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because given like everything there is just like over the top, right? It's
Yes.
just like
Yes.
it's big, it's just it's a lot. And
Yeah.
was it on the day that you guys are walking on the coals, or was it like some other day?
I think it was after that because it was,
Okay.
I believe it was 3 days. And so I think the Coles was like the first night. And then maybe the second or the third day Wim Hof came. I can't remember because it was before I had my son, probably 2015 or 16. I can't remember. So it was
Yeah.
like almost 10 years ago.
I know. I think I went almost 10 years ago to him as well. But
Yeah.
I asked because I'm like, it seems like something that he would bring him on to like pump you up before
Yes.
the cold walk.
Yeah. 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 I think if I remember right, it was after
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it
So
was definitely the whole experience was meant to really like almost put you in that sympathetic nervous system state, but like in a way to activate you to take action and feel
right.
motivated in your business.
Yeah, yeah. It was, I mean, it was definitely it was an interesting experience.
Yes.
And now I'm like, okay, now on the other side that it's been, probably almost 10 years since I've gone. I'm like,
Yeah.
would I go back and what would my expectations be
Yeah.
now versus
Yeah.
I had no real expectations.
Yeah. Me too. I had no idea what I was walking into.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see like after 10 years later, like what you're like, because I mean, some people are freaking junkies. I think they go
Oh,
like
yeah.
a year, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. And they are the best salesmen because my husband was ready to sign up for every single
Oh my
program that
God.
they had. And then we were like afterwards, when you come down from the high of Tony Robbins, you're like, okay, let me slow down here. I'm not going to sign up for everything.
Right, exactly. You'd be like, just take my credit card.
Yeah, that's pretty much what people were doing. Take it, sign me up.
Right. Now, how often should someone practice breath work? Is this an everyday thing? Is it?
Yeah, some people do it every day. Some people do it a couple times a week. Some people do it as needed. I think it just depends on you, like what feels good. And
Mm,
you don't have to do like 30 minutes, an hour of breath work. Like you could literally do like if you could squeeze in like 5 minutes a day, like you're going to get so much benefit even just from that. But if it's like 5 minutes a couple times a week, like that's great too. So I think it's just like kind of figuring out like just depends on like what your goals are, how stressed out you are. If you are like feel like you're in a constant state of stress, yeah, I would try to fit in like every day that you can, even if it's just 5 minutes.
cool. So I guess, my people are perfectionists.
Yeah.
So, as I'm starting my journey here, is there anything that I should be expecting to feel like, how would I like, kind of feel like this is working?
Yeah, I think you will just, everybody's different. And so it'll help you to kind of understand, become more aware of your body, I think.
Mm,
And you'll be more in tune with your stress levels. So you'll be able to feel a difference. Even just after, if you were to do like 5 minutes of box breathing and paying attention to how you felt before and after, you'll notice a difference. Like you could even like do a little scale and say like, okay, before you start, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like what is my stress level right now? And just, pick the intuitive answer. And then after you do breath work, check in again and see, you should notice that you went down the scale at least a couple points. And, if you can fit in more, like if you could fit in 15 to 20 minutes, that would be even better. And you'll definitely see a difference. But after 5 minutes, you'll definitely feel differently. Like you'll notice.
gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Cause it's like, I feel like I would have a more, I'm going to call it instant
Yeah.
response from
Yeah.
breath work than, me. I'm like, go to the gym. It's going to feel amazing. Go to
Yeah.
the gym. You're going to get results. Where it's like, I'm like, call me in like 6 weeks, where most
Yeah.
people don't want to wait the 6 weeks for the results.
Yes. Yeah. 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 I mean, as far as long-term benefits, like it's just like going to the gym. It's just like yoga. It's like a practice. So the more you do it, the better you get at it, the longer you can, do it for, and like the better your results can be. If you are someone that has, if you have an Apple Watch, they have I think they have like some trackers on there to be able to tell so you can like actually see some
Ooh,
biofeedback.
okay.
A really good way to check is with your HRV, which I think Apple Watch, so my Apple Watch is really old and it's not very accurate, but I think if you have a newer Apple Watch, you should be able to tell. Your HRV is the time in between your heartbeats. And so it's your heart rate variability. And so the longer that you can get that, the better it is, and the better that your body is able to bounce back from stress. So you can see, and I know Apple does have that metric on there in the health app. So that is a way that you can check and you can see your progress. You could do
Huh.
the Aura Ring.
Yeah.
Those are really big right now. And so anything that is offering you some kind of biofeedback is a way that if you are like that data-driven technical person, you want to see like the results other than like, like if you're working out, like you could see like how many, like the amount of weight that you would like bench press, let's say, like that would go up, or like you would see it on the scale. This is a way that you can see that, like, I guess, like physical, tangible data that there is change.
So would I see that immediate or is this over time? I would see my
It's
heart.
over time. Yeah,
Okay.
just like anything. Like, so you'll notice like you will feel better immediately.
Right.
It might just last for like an hour. It might last a couple hours. I don't know. You might have the best, if you're not used to it, you might have the best sleep of your life, that night.
Right.
Who knows? But for long term, just like anything, it's the more consistent you are, the better it's going to be. And you can and there is ways to like track like the actual data so you can see like your own progress.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I know I like that. And so now, one of the, my big thing that I work with women on is belly fat. And so
Yeah.
a lot of it is about stress,
Yeah.
and, we've touched on it, but like most people are like, stress is just how my life is. But you're saying that even if I'm sitting at work and I just had an awkward conversation with my boss or
Yeah.
whoever, I can sit at my desk and go through some type of breathwork techniques to kind of
Yeah.
help bring me out of that like
Yes.
sympathetic system.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Just to help you like calm down and not stay in that like state of stress all throughout the rest of your day and you're constantly like ruminating on it. You're able to bounce back. Then when you're not feeling so stressed, then you're able to kind of look at, okay, like I had that, difficult conversation with my boss, but moving forward, like I'm going to be okay. Or, I have like I can think rationally about like what options I want to take, like, if it was like a serious conversation or something, or just like be able to brush it off and like move on. You're able to
Gotcha.
do that when you get out of that stress state.
Now, you talked about a couple of techniques that are more like energy giving. So what
Yeah.
if for me that I got a lot of work a lot of work going on. So instead of me reaching for the cup of coffee, are there like
Yeah.
techniques that can like kind of, I'm going to call it hype me up because I don't know the right words.
Yeah, yeah. So a technique that I love to do energy or to bring energy to me or to feel more confident is a technique called Bastrica. And so this is where you're breathing just in and out of the nose forcefully. It's a little bit hard to describe like if you're not seeing me, but so I don't know if you can hear me, but you like breathe out and in just through the nose. So I almost like think of it kind of like as a bull, kind of like how a
Yeah.
bull, like I imagine a bull would breathe. And then as you're breathing in, you're raising your arms up to the sky. And then as you're breathing out, you're pulling your arms down to your lap, and it almost like you're pulling the energy down. And so
Mm,
breathing in, you're bringing your arms up, breathing down, pulling the arms down. And you do that for several rounds, like, 3 to 5 rounds. Each round is like 20 to 30 breaths. And then you take some space in between. And so a practice like that, you could do like 5 to 10 minutes of Bastrica, and that would make you feel energized. It increases your heart rate, and it just like it changes the energy. And so you just feel more confident. I like to do this if I'm gonna like get on like an Instagram live. And this
right.
like it gives me energy, it makes me feel more confident. I'm in my body, I'm present, and I'm like ready to go.
Gotcha, gotcha. No, I that's good because most people think of breath work as a a stress releaser
Yeah.
than a
Yeah.
like pump, a kind of a thing that would pump you up.
Yes.
So, and would could I do something like this like before, like if I'm doing some type of competitive exercising, like
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
running a marathon or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. It would be really great if you were doing some kind of like competitive or athletic, kind of like training or experience or activity.
Perfect, perfect. Now so now like all my A plus plusers are on board. I
Yeah.
see you girls, you're on board and you're like, okay, this seems great. Now, how often should I do it? And what does consistency look like? So how would, I know you've said it that like you kind of have to fit it into your schedule, right?
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
it's kind of like, you know, can I get benefits doing this starting out 3 times a day? I'm sorry,
Oh,
not 3 times
three
a day.
times a day would be. Those
Three
are your
times a week.
overachievers.
I do have overachievers. 3 times a week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 3 times a week would be great. And like, whenever it fits in your schedule, of course, like if you could do it in the morning, like when you wake up, that's really great because that's gonna like start your day like feeling like really balanced, feeling like more relaxed, easing into the day. Doing it at night is really great because it's gonna help you go to sleep. But if you're like you don't have time in the morning or already have other things you're doing, maybe you do it at lunchtime. Like as long as you find what works for you and
Mm,
find a place in your schedule that it works, like that's, you're going to get benefits from it.
gotcha. And I think that's very similar to exercise. Like no
Yeah.
one skips to their workout, right? There's that
Yeah.
rare person that does, but it's
Yeah.
the after that we are like, oh, that was good.
Yeah.
So for many of us, it's like getting a few reps underneath our belt so
Hmm.
that we can start to realize like that felt good.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like the same thing like exercise. Like sometimes you start doing it and you're like, this feels hard. Oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. But if you can just stay with it, stay in it, know that it's going to get easier and then your body is going to start to crave it because it
Mm,
feels good for your body. It feels good like in it, especially after, and then it's going to be easier for you to not only add it into your schedule and be consistent, but like extend the amounts of or the period that you're breathing, like, do it for longer. Some people, I mean, I don't know anybody that's like doing it for an hour, like all the time, but like maybe you do get up to like 30 minutes or an hour, like that's,
right.
but it's not necessary.
Right. One of the things I like about breath work, for me, it's more accessible because every time, I was working with this meditation person and she was like, I think I was like empty your mind. Or I couldn't remember. There was like something she was trying to get me to do and I couldn't do it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I just couldn't. I'm like, and she's like, why is it so hard? I was like, I just can't fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone. Like, can we move on to something else? And I
Yeah.
just remember it was just like it was so like for me it was frustrating because for her it was like this is just like everyone does this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
he had been meditating for I don't even know how long. And yet
Yeah.
for me it was a challenge. And as a fitness person, like I couldn't just tell someone to do a bicep curl. And if someone couldn't do a bicep curl, I I always have to have a way to make it easier and I always have to wait to
Yes.
make it harder. So
Yes.
it was that part was like it was just such a grapple for me because I was like, you don't have a way to make this easier.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not like feeling what you're trying to express or feeling what
Yeah.
you're trying to tell me I should feel. Uh,
Yeah. I would say the way to make meditation easier is to listen to a guided meditation
yeah,
because you don't have to clear your mind. You're focusing on someone else's voice and they are telling you what to imagine. And that is a meditation that, is has the benefits of meditation. And the cool thing about breath work is it's an active meditation.
right.
So, yeah, you're focusing on your breath. And at the same time, you are bringing yourself into that parasympathetic state that meditation does and you have something to focus on and you are able to clear your mind because you're focused on the breath and it's helping to clear out like the mental chatter. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and that's like why it's so great and like anybody can do it and it makes it easier. And I do believe that when you become more consistent in your breathwork practice, then if you wanted to just go into a meditation, it's going to be so much easier for you.
And and like you said, like for a lot of my women, we have a lot of mental chatter. Like,
Yeah.
we're like just sitting for 5 minutes, like I swear is a real challenge for a lot of my women.
Yeah.
Um, and so, right now I have a woman who like, she's just like all day long. And
Yeah.
her challenge was like, I'm going to give you somewhere from 5 to 15 minutes just to sit and pet your dog.
Hmm.
And you would have thought that I told her to walk to China in pumps. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, "You like your dog, right?" She's like, "Yeah, I love my dog." I'm like, "Pet it for five to 15 minutes." And she was
Yeah.
just like the deer in the headlights look like I just asked her to do like the hardest thing on the planet.
Yeah. Oh, petting your dog is really good for you,
It is
for
good for you,
your,
but it
yeah,
was
for
like
your
it was just like
parasympathetic nervous system state too.
like it was
It puts
it
you in
was
that.
like holy shit, I have to sit down for
Yeah.
5 minutes and
Yeah.
like not be like, "Oh, okay, after I pet my dog, I'm gonna make dinner and then I'm gonna go
Yeah.
here and then I'm gonna go there." Like it was
Yeah.
just sit there and like feel the fur under your fingers, like listen to your dog breathe. Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It is harder for some people.
it is like a lot of us like because we've been rewarded with the go go go.
Yes. Yeah.
And so now one of the things I like about breath work is that like it feels like you're doing something even though you're not.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it gives you like on the backside, it gives you that like, oh, that's what it's like to finally take a freaking deep breath.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So now, what are some of like is there any challenges that people have with breath work other than the time?
Yeah, I think like you said, like you had noticed that you weren't, or your massage therapist had noticed that you weren't taking a full breath. So I
Mm,
think sometimes that can be hard for people in the beginning because they're not used to it. So it's just like, doing what you can and trying to deepen your breath each time that you do it. So that can like take some practice to expand your lungs. Sometimes people, they do have a hard time like sitting still for like 5 minutes and doing it. And so if you can, challenge yourself, make that commitment to yourself that you're gonna, at least give yourself 5 minutes to do it every time you do it. And then you'll find, it just gets easier the more you do it. And then you're able to lengthen your time. You're able to, like, you'll notice that you're breathing deeper. So I would say like fitting it into your schedule, finding the time to do it, and then feeling like you can actually take that deep breath and that you can like stick with it and do it. Those are probably like the top challenges. And I would stick with like I wouldn't if you are, struggling to take like a really deep breath, like definitely don't do anything that's activating. Like start with something that's very simple and
mm.
easy to do, like the box breathing. And another thing that you can do is if you just elongate your breath by like 1 to 2 seconds from your inhale, that you're going to get so many benefits just from that. So that will also put you into a parasympathetic nervous system state. So you could just simply take a big breath in, whatever big breath means to you. So like 2 to 3 seconds on the inhale, and then elongate the exhale just by like 1 to 2 seconds. So making that exhale a little bit longer is going to help you if that's like the place you need to start.
I like that. I like that. That right there is kind of like be where you are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's no rules here, right?
Yeah.
Like if you have a minute, great. If you have 5 minutes, great. If you have 30 minutes, awesome, right? There's
Yeah.
no like you do you. And just like exercise, the more I become accustomed to it, the more I'm able to, one, make it fit into my life. But two,
Mhm.
also like maybe it's like, oh, let me try 6 minutes. Let me
Yeah.
try 7 minutes and see, how that lands for me.
Yeah. 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 It's the exact same thing.
And are there any misconceptions about breath work that people think or myths or
I
anything like
think,
that?
yeah, I think sometimes people think that when they hear breath work, like they've seen like videos or they've heard of people like they're crying, they're screaming, like, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like, yes, there is like types of breath work and like facilitators that will kind of take you through that experience, but it doesn't have to be that. It can just be something that is relaxing and feels good to your body. And, sometimes you may have emotion come up, but most likely you'll probably just, be
Be
in that
chill.
relaxed state. Yeah, you'll be chill. And that's okay. And I think that is like a misconception, or that you have to do something like that for it to be really effective, and you don't.
Mm.
Like it can be very gentle.
Well, as you were talking, it makes me think about like you said like you experienced this at a retreat. I experienced it
Yes.
at a retreat.
Yeah.
So at a retreat, we're in a space
Yes.
where me and my bed like is not
Yeah.
that space. And so I'm
Yes.
kind of being held by the
Hmm.
facilitator.
Yes.
And it's, based on what the theme of the retreat is,
Yes. Hmm.
I'm taking, I might, it might be relaxation. It could be yeah, overcoming obstacles or blocks or whatever, just how you were at it. So you and I were at it, but it's like, this isn't daily practice, isn't always trying to overcome something.
Yes. Yeah. Daily practice can just be to be present
Right. And
and
that
feel
in
relaxed.
and of
And that's
itself
amazing.
is a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. And then, yeah. And
So,
that's where you start.
right. And so look, not every day has, I think I feel like I think once it becomes a little bit more mainstream, it's kind of like yoga. Like every time you take a yoga class, you're not going to have this like, oh my God, after a
Yeah.
yoga class. Some
Yes.
yoga classes, absolutely, but not
Yeah.
every class you're going to leave and feel like it was like some type of religious experience.
Yes, exactly.
Where some breathwork experiences, if you've had like a day, it's going to feel really good.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And if you're guided through, like we were at a retreat, if you're guided through something like that experience is meant to make you have, that type of like reaction to it. But it doesn't, like on your own, it can be just something to help you relax, help you
Right.
to reduce stress, help you feel more present in the moment, and like slow down. Like that is, you know, that's amazing. That's great.
And that's what I feel like most people need. Like I think so many of us
Yes.
don't know how to press the pause button.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that said, uh what is that technique that you wanted to take us through?
Yeah, so I thought if you're open to it, I could like lead you through a little meditation and then a little breath work, and then just finish like just coming back into the moment. So for your listeners that are maybe they're driving as they're listening to this, or they're like um I don't know, walking around somewhere, like they may want to come back to this, or if they can like, find a place to stop and like give themselves like about, 5-ish minutes, like then they can kind of like be fully present for this. But yeah.
All right. So Magic Makers, I'm writing down the time of this so that when I put this out into the world, I will put the timestamp in the show notes so that after you've listened to this podcast, and if you want to just come back to this particular spot in the podcast, you'll be able to fast forward to this particular spot so that you don't have to listen to this amazing conversation for 40 something minutes before you get to the gist. All right.
All right.
All righty. Let's do this.
Okay, so let's make sure that you are in a safe, quiet place where you can sit down and close your eyes and just come to a comfortable seated position. You're welcome to lay down if you would like. And just start to lower your shoulders down from your ears and stack them over your hips. Soften into your jaw, your temple, the brow, and start to bring all of your awareness to your inhale and your exhale. Maybe lengthening the exhale a little bit longer than the inhale, signaling to the body that it's time to soften, it's time to receive, and get acquainted with your breath. Just allowing the rhythmic inhales and exhales to be your center point of focus, almost like a wave in the ocean coming into the shore and moving out. As we move into this breath practice, we are creating a beautiful balance between your mind and your body and creating a sense of calm and safety. Let's take a big breath in, filling up your belly into your rib cage and your chest, and release, empty everything out. Let it go. Take one more big breath in, pulling the breath into the belly, pulling it into the chest, and exhale. Let it all go. And at the bottom of your exhale, seal the lips and inhale through the nose for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold at the top for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale slowly through the nose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold at the bottom for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Hold at the top. Exhale. Hold. Inhale through the nose. Hold at the top. Exhale slowly with control. Hold at the bottom. Last round. Inhale. Hold at the top. Exhale slowly. Hold at the bottom. 3, 2, 1, and release, letting your breath come back to its natural rhythm. Notice how it feels in your body now after this short breath practice. Maybe noticing if there's a feeling of calm and peace flowing gently through your body. Anchor in this feeling to keep with you throughout the day. And keeping the eyes closed, let's take one last deep breath in, filling up your belly all the way up to the chest, holding for a moment. Open mouth, exhale. Let it all out. Slowly letting your awareness come back into the space now. Maybe wiggling your fingers and toes a little. Feeling the energy run through your body. Dropping the chin to the chest. Taking a few half circles if that feels good. Maybe a full circle, the head and the neck. Rolling your shoulders a few times. Stretching your arms over your head. Whatever you need to come back. And when you're ready, gently blink your eyes open, coming back into the space. Welcome back.
That was really good. And that was only
Good.
like what? Like, was that even 5 minutes?
Yeah, I don't think it was even like 5 minutes. It's just real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, I feel like, if you're someone who's like new to this, that was just like a nice little like, I don't know, like an afternoon cup of coffee. Like it was just like a
Yeah.
little like pause
Yeah.
to like get back into your day.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it can be something as simple as that.
Yeah, that was good. So for those guys listening, I literally wrote the time that we started and the time we stopped so that after you listen to this, and if you just want to come back to that little segment, you can easily come back and just listen to that little segment. I'm also gonna ask my producer. I wonder if Derek can just give me that little snippet. I'll ask him. He might be like,
Yeah.
girl, but that's fine. There's plenty of things that I need to say girl too. So but yeah, Melissa, this was absolutely fantastic. I've done things about breathwork before, but I really feel like I can't keep it's one of those things that I can't say enough about because I know so many people just need to chill the hell out.
Yes.
And this is like I feel like of all the ways that you can chill out, it's a very easy thing for you to chill out. And it's something that like for all my people who can't sit still, you could do it, find spots in your day to sneak it in.
Yeah. Yeah. You can. Yeah. Put down the phone, stop scrolling Instagram, and use that time to do a little breath work.
Right, exactly. But I want to just thank you so much for taking the time out to do this for me. It was absolutely such a great conversation. And
Yeah.
so, where can people find you?
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation. I always love talking to you. And people can find me on Instagram. So that's the place I hang out the most. And my handle is Melissa M. Hoffmann. And I have two N's in my name. So that's where you'll find me. I also have a website if you want to check out like more about working with me. My website is www.melissahoffmann.com. Hoffman again with two N's. And there's another Melissa Hoffman that has one N, and she's like a voice actor or something. So
So, Melissa, when you talk about people working with you, so do
yeah.
you work to help me like facilitate my own breath work? Like, what would that look like?
Yeah, so I do one-on-one breathwork sessions. So if that's something you're interested in, we could definitely do that. And I will like find out from you like what your goal is, what your intention is for the breathwork, and then I create a guided experience and take
Mm,
you through that. It's about the sessions are like an hour, but really you're only breathing for about 30 to 35 minutes. And then I also do one-on-one coaching. And so that is more to help women that are like stuck in overwhelm and feeling like not sure like that they can express like who they are. Maybe I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs, so they want to feel more confident in their business to attract clients, to attract more money and grow their businesses. And so really doing like the deep inner work to help them show up as their authentic, unapologetic selves.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling any of that, make sure you reach out to Melissa. So she has both sides of herself. Like one, she can help you kind of, if you're someone who is one, an entrepreneur, or even in a corporate role that you see yourself
Yes.
be a bigger, badder version of yourself, she can
Mhm.
definitely help you with that. But also just some of us just need to learn how to chill the hell out. And
Yes,
she can
yeah.
help
And
you.
actually that just reminded me this is so new that I haven't even launched it yet, but I am launching a clinical breathwork program that will help you regulate your nervous system within 10 weeks. And so this is for the women that are feeling like so stressed out and they don't know like how to manage their stress, whether it's at
Mm,
work, whether it is like you're an entrepreneur growing your business and you just want to feel like you can chill out and you don't have to think about it, like you want to train your body how to do that automatically when you are in a stressful situation. And so that is I'll be talking more about that on my Instagram, and that's coming soon. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely check out my Instagram or reach out.
all righty. Well, thank you so much. And when that comes out, we'll have to have a conversation about that because that's
Yes,
fantastic.
yeah,
Um,
yes.
but thank you so much. And so the last thing I always ask every guest, what's one thing that makes you feel magical?
Yeah, being creative. And so
Yay.
I am an artist. I used to be a makeup artist for a long time. That was my
Ah,
first business. And I still love makeup, but now I do like watercolor and just like anything where I get to like be creative and play and do art and make things that makes me feel magical.
awesome. I love that. I love that. That's, I love asking this question because I never know I'm going to hear. And
Yeah.
I've never heard a repeat.
Yeah.
And over 200 episodes. I've never heard of.
Wow.
So I just now I'm like, it started as like I'm like, how am I going to end the podcast? Now it's like
Yeah.
now my curiosity gets the best of me.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love it.
Well, Melissa, thank you so much for doing this. I've always learned so much stuff. I've taken notes. Everyone, please, follow Melissa. Do this breathwork thing that we just did. I don't know. I think it was 3 minutes. But definitely like learn how to chill the hell out. It will go a
Yeah.
long way.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Kim.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. All right, Magic Makers. I will talk to you guys next week. Oh,